This is the President McCormack Podcast with your host, Mark McCormack.
Ladies and gentlemen, on the podcast today, my littlest sister and only sister, Jillyn Romero. Used to be McCormack, formerly known as McCormack, but now she's Romero.
That's me.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
I wanted to amp that up a little bit more than I normally do.
It felt right. I'm honored.
Did it?
Yeah, there was a lot of energy.
I know some of the other podcasts, they just like get right in the conversation and then they end up recording the intro later. I don't have time to do that.
Yeah.
So I just got to do it live every time.
I like it. It's good.
So you excited to come on the podcast we've been talking about?
Yeah, I am excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, I put makeup on and did my hair.
Nice.
Which hasn't happened in a long time.
Now that's because you have a new little baby. I got a new nephew.
Yes, I have 2 little kids, Pepper, and I just had Miles.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I am sleep deprived and loving it. He's worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love him. He's cute.
Your hormones are all crazy still. You're trying to get back to...
Crazy. Crying, screaming.
Trying to get back to neutral.
Yeah, just so much medication.
We've got a couple guys that are in our men's group that are going to have kids for the first time. They're talking about kids, and I'm like, oh, bro. Like, oh, yeah, it's crazy when they're pregnant. I'm like, hell no. It's like it's the next 9 to 12 months of the crazy.
I would agree, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's your body just getting back to, resetting your hormones, resetting your life. You're losing weight.
Yeah. I'm getting really frustrated, like knowing who I have been before, like even mentally, physically, whatever right now. And it is hard when you're like, I'm not performing how I usually do, or I'm not handling this how I usually do. Like I was sick at the beginning of the week and I was like in a blacked out room for 3 days and I was like, this is awesome. I don't want to leave here. Like this isn't normal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
now you're a hairdresser by trade.
Yes.
Is that what we call it? Stylist? What's the professional way of saying it?
Cosmetologist, hairstylist, whatever. You could call it whatever.
Yeah, you're like me. Who cares about titles?
Yeah, I don't care.
I've had a lot of employees over the years like want a title in my office, and I'm like, I don't know, pick one, right?
Right.
Like I really don't care. So I've got a couple of guys that have worked there for 2 months. They're senior project managers, and like all this kind of stuff. And then one time we had a guy on. He worked there. He was a project manager, but he worked there for a month or 2. And I was like, yeah, just pick any title you want. Like, I don't care. Put on your thing. Next thing you know, I get an email from him. He's a chief operations officer. And I was like, okay, all right, I got to stop doing this.
Right.
That's an actual thing.
A COO is an actual thing, dude.
So I think he was a little butthurt, actually. But then I was just kind of like, dude,
Yeah.
You're weird.
But I mean, he's like, okay, I'll put whatever on.
Yeah. So I think I made him senior project manager. I made him feel good.
Oh,
So,
good.
Whatever.
Put a senior in the front of it.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, you're 32. Sure. What the hell?
Yeah.
It's funny for me because I've only worked at one company my whole life, really, right?
Yeah.
I've never really interviewed for a job. Well, I've never interviewed for a job. And so,
Right.
or worked in corporate America or any of that stuff. So it's always been interesting to me how those people roll, where they're like, oh, I got
Right.
7 bosses I have to report to. And, this guy this, and this guy's screwing me. He stole my idea. I'm just like, I feel like I want to kill myself. I don't even know why you people do this.
Yeah.
But it's what it is.
Oh, I've had lots of jobs.
Yeah, I know.
It's kind of funny, like how different your route is and then my route.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, being a cosmetologist, I think every 3 years, you're kind of forced to make a change to progress. And a lot of times that's changing salons. And titles are really important where I'm at because people will pay certain things for your title. So like I had this crazy resume and then I finally went to this salon and they were like, oh, you'll be a master stylist. And I was like, I'm going to be a master stylist? And they're like, yeah, you have this awesome resume. You should be a master stylist. Yeah. And I was like, oh my gosh, it just took somebody to just say that. Like nothing changed.
Right.
Yeah.
Skill level didn't go up. You did get your black belt though. So you have to wear a black belt now.
Yes. So yeah, now because I'm in my own studio, titles don't matter at all.
Yeah.
They just pay what you say.
Yeah, exactly. Just get your clients in and lock them in, right?
Yeah.
So that's fun, dude. So you're the baby of the family.
Yes.
You're also the only girl.
Yes.
And our parents gave up when you were about 10. Not gave up as in like, I joke about this all the time with people, right? You have 4 kids in a family, the last 2 get off really, really easy, and the first 2 kind of take the brunt of all the rules and like the order and the structure, and then our parents get tired and they're like, yeah, I don't know, be home by 1 or whatever. You know, the older ones are like, what the actual hell, you've changed. You know?
You know, mom and dad, I do feel like they got really lax when I was in high school.
Yeah.
Besides curfew. I don't know what it was about our parents with like being home at 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
And then
you had to learn how to get around that. Did you follow my lead or did you?
No. Like now that we're adults and you've told me what you did, I'm like, I'm a freaking idiot. Like I just kept doing it over and over again. I get grounded and then.
Yeah. I led by example. I didn't lead by preaching, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, I think I just wasn't observing because I'm 6 years younger than you.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then you were out of the house. It's kind of crazy.
I was out of the house, like, let's see. I went at 19, obviously, right? I went on a Mormon mission. So you were, what, 13? Am I doing my math right? Yeah, you'd have been 13.
Yeah.
Just coming into your young lady years.
Yeah.
Headed into school.
Yeah.
So is it an accurate statement saying that you were the princess of the family? Do you feel like the princess?
I'm sure that's accurate. I mean, I'm the only girl.
Yeah, but from your perspective, though.
I think growing up with only brothers, I naturally was drawn to girly things. So I loved playing with dolls and makeup and all of that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But I do have a side to me that, like, I love driving things. I love, you know, all the stuff we did growing up as a family. And I feel like I was naturally good at that, too. I kind of wish I would have pursued, like, I don't know, snowmobiling or, like, gone into, like, racing or...
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it would be fun. I don't know if you remember, but when I turned 16, I got into a lot of car accidents.
I remember. I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah. I got in 2 car accidents in 2 days. Sorry, Dad. That was a really rough call home. But yeah, I think it's because I was always pushing the limits because I was used to doing that, like driving, I don't know, motorized vehicles before. But I wish I would have been able to kind of put that into something. I think it would have been fun.
Yeah.
But I'm also starting, you know, over the last couple of years, just kind of being like, my life's not over. I can do whatever I want. And I really love coming into that. And it's kind of sad to me that it's taken me till I'm, you know, in my 30s to realize you can do whatever and no age really matters.
Yeah.
So, but it's kind of been a cool journey. But yeah. So growing up in our family, I do feel like there's a lot of, like, I have a deep voice. At least that's what I hear. And I'm hearing myself right now. I'm like, that is deeper than in my head. But I don't know. Yeah, sure, I'm the princess. I'm cool with taking that title. Yeah. It'd be nice in one aspect of my life to be a princess.
No, I kind of joke because it's a perspective thing, right? Like, you know, people are like, well, you're the oldest child. You were very responsible. And I'm like, I didn't really feel that responsible growing up. You know what I mean? But then I guess if you look back at a few things, it's like, yeah, I mean, I guess I was more responsible than the second oldest in our family. That's more of a test to see if he actually listens to the podcast. To see if he calls me up, he gets mad at me. No, I'm just joking though. It's an interesting, it would be interesting growing up with 3 brothers. And so I have a wife, obviously, that did the same thing. You know, she was in a different order. She was second to youngest, but she had 3 brothers. And,
yeah,
you know, did you always feel protected by your brothers or some level?
No.
No? Yeah.
I mean, there was like a 3.5 year age gap between me and Kev. And so by the time I went into high school, he was out. So ever since elementary school, I was always in school by myself.
Yeah.
So there's kind of like at least when it came to like school and people knowing my family, like I didn't have siblings I went to school with or anything.
Yeah.
So like when I was doing my own social hangouts or whatever, it's not like I had older siblings, you know, like being like, no, don't you stay away from my sister or whatever, you know? And I never brought people over to the house, like dudes that I liked or whatever. It took me a long time to want to do that. I don't know why. I never wanted to have parties at our house. Probably because Mom was really stingy with like our milk.
Yeah, she was. She hated that milk going out of there so fast.
Yeah. Like my friends have this joke about Mom. One time I was making us all quesadillas, like the girls in our neighborhood that I grew up with. And she like comes in, she's like, put that away and get an apple. And like to this day, I could say that to my friends. And I'm like, yeah, that's my mom.
Oh, dude, I watched Mom. So Chris Williams came over to the house, right? You know this whole story?
Yeah, but tell it.
I'll tell it on the podcast. So my mom would buy 4 gallons of milk like every 4 or 5 days. Like we killed a gallon of milk like every day, right?
Which is crazy.
We were cereal family. We were, I don't know, if you're thirsty, have a glass of milk family. I don't know.
Well, remember those big green cups?
Yeah.
Dude, I remember Kevin filling that thing up and...
Oh, yeah, like a serving was 12 to 16 ounces. So, like, killing a gallon is not that hard. You know, our dad drank milk. I think she drank milk. I think the whole family drank milk. Maybe that's why we're big. I don't know. Who the hell knows?
But our bones are strong.
Yeah, our bones are strong. Osteoporosis, we're coming for you. One of our buddies came over who was Brett's age, just second oldest. And he pours a glass of milk, and, you know, Mom's kind of like, whatever, you know, blah, blah. Then he pours another glass of milk. And you can kind of see her being like, I don't know, just like getting upset with it. Yeah, twitching a little bit. And then he poured a third glass of milk. And it was like all she could do not to say anything. And then the dude went to pour a 4th glass of milk and she cut him off. And I just could not stop laughing at her. She's like, that's enough. You've had enough milk, have water, whatever, right? And it was like, I don't know. I always found her so funny when she would do that kind of stuff.
I think that's been the best quality that you bring to the relationship with Mom is that you can laugh about stuff and you're actually really good at making Mom laugh. I'm like the opposite. Like I'm like, Mom, or whatever, you know, and then we clash with those moments. But yeah.
It's good family dynamic.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, man. I just like to tease people. Like, I feel like it's like a kinder way to draw attention to whatever the hell is going on, you know? Like when someone like, I don't know, blows up something and they're just standing there looking at you, it's like, what happened?
Right.
You know what I mean? And you just kind of start laughing instead of like, oh, what's going on? How do you feel about that? Is everything okay? Should we call somebody?
Yeah.
It's like, ugh, they're making a big deal out of nothing.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
No, you've always been good at like being able to tease Mom to get a laugh.
Yeah.
Are you like that with Dad?
Yeah, I'll tease him sometimes. It's a different tease.
Yeah.
He's a little more sensitive. So, and nowadays we have other people give him a hard time, so I give him a lot less of a hard time because
that's true.
I think he's unhappy with getting hard times. So
yeah, I agree.
But yeah, he's a good sport though too. I mean, I don't think Dad's uptight or grumpy really, but
no, yeah, he is a good sport.
Yeah. And who knows? Maybe I get it from him. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's kind of funny when your kid gives it back to you, right? You're like, oh, that's kind of me.
Yeah.
Like my son Nixon hates brushing his teeth, and I'm always like, brush your teeth, you know? And he's just like, oh, I forgot, Dad, you know? And I'm like, was I like this as a kid? You know what I mean?
Right.
So, yeah, who knows? Freaking wild. So what was it like being the little sister to me growing up? Do you even remember me much?
Yeah. I remember, it's weird because like my childhood in general, I don't remember like a ton, but I remember there was like a really special moment for me before you went on your mission where you took just me out to go get pizza. I don't know if you remember that, but like it was like right before you left, and I think we just went and picked up Little Caesars or something, but we got like 3 pizzas, and you just like purposely hung out with me and spent time with me before your mission. And that's probably like one of my favorite memories because I felt so special, you know, cool. Like, oh, you want to hang out with just me, you know? And anyway, you've always been kind. Like, I don't ever remember you like, you know, I got like brotherly stuff from the other 2 where they would like, you know, tease me or, you know, whatever stuff. But I don't remember that with you. I always remember you being like really kind to me, and yeah.
Good.
Yeah, some great memories.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I don't actually remember teasing you as a kid. I don't think I started teasing girls till I was well into my late 20s. Just because, you know, like I actually posted this thing on Instagram the other day where like guys just freaking call each other ugly and then you laugh about it, right?
Yeah.
Well, you can't do that with a woman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just, and you shouldn't do that with a woman. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
And but there's other ways to tease. Like I'll tell you a funny story, right? So since we were talking about feminism earlier, right?
Yeah.
I have a friend. Her name's Andrea, right? She's actually on her way up right now from Arizona with her family to spend the week with us.
Oh, yeah.
Love her to death, right? Seriously, one of my really good friends. And she She's a badass in business, right? She runs businesses, she has employees, like she doesn't let stuff slip, right? Like she is a freaking like badass chick.
Yeah.
And she's not, I don't even know if I describe her as a feminist. I don't think she would, or maybe she would sometimes, you know what I mean? But she's very into like girls growing up and being able to do whatever they put their mind to, right? And like just all the good parts of feminism.
Yeah.
Right? And so, and so I like to tease, right? And so does she a little bit. So we kind of tease each other, you know. And one night we're down in Arizona hanging out at her house, and we're all kind of laughing and stuff. And I think we started, and I'll pop little like anti-feminist jokes every now and again, and she'll just look at me and laugh, right? Like she's just like, I know you love women kind of thing. I'll kind of save some misogynist shit, you know, and then just get a laugh. And her and I are laughing, and people are like, dude, is he really saying that?
Right.
And she was getting a little excited about something. I can't remember what it was. And it was a feminist thing, and I just look at her and I go, "You're so brave." And she got this look on her face like she was going to kick the shit out of me. And her husband Matt's like, "I cannot believe you said that to her." But even to this day, we just laugh about it, and like, you know, she'll just like hashtag brave to me every now and again, or like, you know, whatever. Like we just kind of joke about it or talk about it on Marco. And so yeah, man, I don't know, I really do. I tease people to like
break the tension.
Yeah, just let them know that they can interact with me, you know? Because sometimes, you know, being my size and stature is not something I say a lot, but like, you know, there's situations where like, you know, I walk into a room and I'm the one that's in control, or, you know, that's where the power lies. And I think sometimes it intimidates people, and I just kind of use it as like a, you know, like, hey, don't worry about it, you know, like you can talk to me like I'm just like you.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's good for people to be able to interact with other people. I'll tell you another funny story, since this is my podcast and make it all about me. So I was in Spain for 2 weeks, a couple of weeks ago. Right? I've been home for about a week now, and I went to this meeting, and I'm the one that's like calling the meeting. It's with a basketball club called Valencia, right? They're a big club. They're building a new stadium, right? So it's like building the Delta Center. Yeah. And I'm trying to sell them some flooring and some athletic equipment, and they want to buy it from me, right? So I'm like, hey, I'm going to be in Spain. I want to come see you guys, right? Blah, blah, blah. Well, I sweat like a beast, right? Like peeling an orange, I got to go get a towel, wipe my forehead, right? And
is that a family thing? Because I'm like unreasonably sweaty for it.
Oh, are you?
It's the worst.
Blame our parents then.
What the heck? Some gene. Yeah.
So I set this meeting up, and then I'm meeting with a man named Arturo, right? Awesome dude, and he's kind of the broker between all this stuff, and he's getting me with all these different clubs over there and stuff. He picks me up in the Uber, and I'm like, man, I'm like freaking hot. Like I took a hot shower, I put a clean white shirt on, right? V-neck. I'm looking all crisp and ready to go, you know. And guys in Spain are tiny. Right. I mean, compared to me, right? I mean, we're like 5'9" average here in America. I think they're around 5'5". You know, don't quote me on that, but like slender guys, right? Little guys, emo guys. And dude, I get to this meeting, and I have put my red mala beads on underneath, right? So like those monk beads from Tibet, you know. And I thought we were meeting in an office building. When we met on the freaking construction trailer on the job site, it was 83 degrees and like 80% humidity. And as I'm sitting there, I'm in a full wet white shirt, right? And then my necklace started bleeding through it, right? And I'm like sitting there, and I'm trying not to move because I'm trying to regulate my temperature, and I'm like, just can't do it. You know,
and then you're like, your adrenaline's going up, so that you're starting to sweat more. And
exactly. You're like, they're like, breathe through this, Mark. Breathe through this. And I'm like, yes, we can do that. You know what I mean? I'm like barely moving. And I literally reached up to touch something on the architectural plans. As I did that, my whole forearm had like 3 drips come off of it. And I just look at this guy and I go, who's like in charge of the whole flipping thing, right? And I just go, I'm sorry, I'm a sweaty mess. I just can't handle the heat here or something. And they just all start laughing. There's like 2 girls in there, like a couple guys, Arturo, and I'm like, throw a guy a bone. Is there a towel in the building?
Your shirt is tie-dyeing.
Oh yeah. And I'm looking down, and you know, it's one of those longer necklaces, so it's just bleeding through. And I'm like, oh, this is like my beads, you know. And they're like, you can tell that they're just like, oh, okay, you know, like the guy's humorous about this, right? And I'm just like, why did I put a gun in my mouth, right? Like, get me out of here. I'll email you the information later. And as we're leaving, I was talking to Arturo, dude. He was just kind of like laughing. He goes, yeah, you know, you Americans have a hard time in the heat. And he goes, I hate it down here too. It's super hot, you know, because it's like right on the coast, right in the south of France, or south of Spain. And he's from Madrid, where it's a little bit warmer or drier. Yeah. And so, I get in those situations like all the time. And I just don't give a shit.
Yeah, this was like puberty for me. It really broke me in. Like I would like raise my hand and like put my hand like over my armpit. Like between classes, I'd go and like put my shirt under the dryer.
Oh, this is what?
Yeah, I was just like, puberty really kicked me in the balls.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say, the size of you guys, when I would bring people around, I would forget, right? Because I don't think about that. You guys are just who you are. But yeah, every time I would bring like a guy, even, you know, like older when I was dating, like we would leave them, they would be like, your brothers are huge. And I'd be like, oh yeah, like, don't worry, they're not going to do anything to you. But, well, I had a few, so I'm sure that you guys would not do something to them because I had some that would deserve it, actually.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. But
I remember your favorite boyfriend of mine, other than the guy you married, right? It was Tanner. Freaking love that dude.
Of all the
singing,
people,
dancing little guy. Dude, the amount of times I wanted to tease him and I didn't is I deserve an award. He just would tee himself up all the time. I love to sing. I'm like, okay, sing. You know, he's just singing for me, dude. I'm just like eating a bowl of cereal in the kitchen as this kid's singing.
I know what I'd be like. Like, our family is so not like that. And I would just be like, please don't. And yeah, you'd call him a singing, dancing sprite or whatever. Yeah. And then, like, Dad said one time that, because he was 5'6".
Yeah.
So I was taller than him. And Dad would be like, yeah. He had this joke that he would always say that when we went to prom, that Tanner gave him a hug. And he'd be like, yeah, I was like shaking him off my leg. Because he's like so short.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh. But yeah, that was a phase in life.
He was a fun dude. Didn't he like grab his guitar one time at dinner and just start singing us a song?
I'm sure.
Or if I made that up in my head, I can't remember.
No.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, and I probably was just dead silent because that is not our family. Like, what is that show called? The Breakup?
Yeah.
Where they have that family dinner and the guy's like, do-do-do-do-do-do-do, and then like all the the other family is like, oh my gosh, that's who I was dating. And like bringing him into our family, I was just like.
That's where I got that phrase from. The singing dancing little sprite. And he struck me in the neck.
That was such a good show.
Oh, dude.
But yeah, I felt like when I was watching that, I was like, wow, this is extremely relatable. Except I think that guy is a brother and is gay. So that's...
In the movie?
Yeah. It's not like she was dating that person.
Or I think it was undetermined if he was gay, right? Like they kind of made it...
It was alluded.
Yeah, it was alluded. Yeah. Because it's like in a men's group, he's just doing all the stuff that, you know, the stereotypical gay guy would do kind of thing. Yeah.
So, yeah, that was a lot of years and glad it's done. Yeah. I look back on that and I'm like, we have to learn lessons in life.
How long did you date him for?
It's kind of hard to say because, like, I think the span of it all was like 4 years or something, but 2 of those years he was on a mission. Oh. And then, I dated other people while he was gone, but I was like obsessed with him. So, yeah, it took me a long time to get over him because I went on a mission instead of getting married like as soon as he got home, and he got married like 3 months after I left to some chick that looks like me. So
yeah, is he still married?
I think so. Yeah, I've like kind of erased all of that. So yeah,
it comes around. I mean, I've been married 19 years, right? So like, you know, I don't know, once you've been married like 15, 16 years, you're just kind of like, oh, what's that dude up to, you know?
Yeah, totally.
You know?
Yeah. Well, one time he came up on my TikTok and he was like singing and I was like,
I need to be tagged.
I was like it was just came into my personal space. Didn't want that, like was not expecting it. So I just went like blocked him.
Was it good? He's a pretty good singer, right?
He's a good singer. I mean, he's like it's kind of funny because he's like a musical theater kid. Yeah. And I can't do musical theater things anymore. So like the tone of voice, the like whatever, it's too much for me because I'd like hang out with all those kids and it's just a different.
You know I'm about to be baptized deep in this stuff, right?
Right. Brea.
No, me.
Oh, that's right.
I'm Potiphar in the Technicolor Dreamcut in September. For all those out there, get your tickets at the Eccles Theater in Salt Lake City.
Yeah, dude.
It's like September 21st to the 23rd.
How did this happen?
My friend Tanner is the producer of it. So he was on my podcast.
Yeah.
And he asked me to be Potiphar on the podcast. And I was like, no, like, I don't think that's me. And then like 10 minutes in the podcast, I was like, you know what, screw it. Yeah, I'll do it. Do I have to say anything? He's like, I think so. I'm
Yeah,
like,
Potiphar.
right. Yeah, I've only got like 3 or 4 lines, but it's wild though. From my understanding, I think I'm the only dude that's not currently on Broadway, right?
That's crazy.
And everyone that's going to be in this show has already played their parts before, right?
Yeah.
So that's like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And we practice. He just sent the practice schedule out last week. It's like, it's insane. It's like Monday, Tuesday, full walkthrough Wednesday. And I am like, actually, I got to get my measurements over to him today. I got to forget. You're not forgetting to do that.
I can help you with that if you need.
Yeah. You can do my chest, my jacket size. I'm like, I haven't worn a suit forever. Yeah. And so, so we're going to do like these live walkthroughs. And dude, my friends are loving this.
Dude, that is hilarious.
It's one of the things in my life that's really funny because, so we had a bunch of people over at our house, weeks and weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I'm like telling stories and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be Potiphar in this play up at Eccles and blah, blah, blah. And people are laughing, and like, they're like,
Yeah.
oh, wait, are you serious?
That's what I did.
Yeah.
When I found out.
Well, and Michelle, you should know me better than this. And Michelle goes, guys, he never lies. Like,
yeah.
he never lies. Like, and I go, yeah, the truth is way funnier than lying about it. Like,
right.
I am actually going to be Potiphar in a freaking full-on produced play up at the Eccles Theater.
Yeah.
So I hope I don't get nervous.
I hope you don't either.
I don't feel nervous at all, but.
No, I think, well, have you ever done anything on stage before?
Not really.
Welcome to my world. Because I have done a lot of stuff on stage.
Yeah.
You can't see anybody when you're up there.
Yeah, because the lights are in your eyes.
The lights
right?
are in your eyes, so you literally can't see anybody.
It's going to hit my spot. Boom. Do my line.
Yeah. Arms out, chest up. From the gut.
I actually, after I committed, I said to him, I go, dude, I'm not singing right. He goes, no, you're not singing. I'm like, okay. I'm like, I can do some lines. I am not singing.
Yeah.
But.
Dude, I'm really excited for you.
Yeah, we kind of wild.
I feel like you are living that, like, I'm going to do whatever I want in my life thing. Mm-hmm. It's cool.
Yeah. I just say yes to all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. You just ran with the bulls.
Ran with the bulls. The craziest thing is the other night, I went to my friend Ryan's house, and he wanted to go do, not tantric dancing, but I don't know, up at the Hare Krishna temple.
Oh, yeah.
And so I ended up going to his house. We ended up not going up, but I'm going to do that again. But I guess it's just free-flowing freaking energy. You're just dancing your freaking ass off. So there's a lot of my buddies went up to that from the men's group, right? And some of the more... I don't know, less free-minded guys. I don't know. You know what I mean? The guys are just like, this is wild, but then they still got it and kind of did it,
Yeah.
But like, it's just not something you do every day. But
Yeah.
Like, I think in Hawaii, they do these dances naked. Like, co-ed naked, and
Love
people are
it.
just shaking the things.
Love it.
Here you're clothed, but...
Legally, we have to be clothed.
Yeah, well, who knows? Once you're in the religious
Oh,
area, you
yeah,
can do whatever
that's
you want.
true.
Yeah.
We would know.
But yeah, so but the moral of that story is, he sends a little thing out. It's like the thing you sign up for. It costs $20 to go to the thing, right? He's like, "You guys want to go?" And I'm just kind of like, "Yeah, never done this.
it.
Might as well go try it."
Yeah. I think that's fun. I like doing that too.
Yeah, just having fun.
Yes.
So
I haven't done stuff like that in a long time, but
let's do it.
let's do it.
Yeah.
I like doing stuff.
So what got you into the hairdressing world? Because you, when did you start doing that?
I was 19 when I went to school.
Were you? Okay.
Yeah. So
What was the place called? Andrews or something?
my brain isn't working. Probably a good thing.
It's over in Linden, right?
Yeah. Evans Hairstyling College.
Oh, Evans.
Yeah. It was good for like experience, but as for like, they didn't really set me up to become like a really good professional there. Yeah. But this is kind of what happened. So Kevin's friend, Megan, she needed a model, and they were doing like, they have these really big shows, like Cosmoprof, I think, was putting on the show, or I think it was Peerless at the time, which isn't a company anymore. But they went up to the Southtown Expo Center, and they fill the place up with like all of this hair stuff. They show you all the trends. They have all like the big artists who are creating the trends, whatever. And so she asked me to be a model for it. And they did my hair like they cut my hair on stage into like the fuggliest mullet ever with like wispies, like the Brady Bunch mom that's like what I looked like. But they colored my hair super cool, and like the environment was so fun. And I was like, I'd always thought about doing something like that. But yeah, I went there and it was just kind of like magical for me.
Yeah.
I think it's because I am artistic, and I was like, I could do this for a profession, whatever. And it's been really good and a huge grind. So it's everything that people say that's negative about it, right? And for me personally, everything that's creative too. So I have like a huge outlet by going to work, like creativity, social wise. I love my clientele. So I think I've been doing hair now for 14 years.
Yeah.
So, well, maybe more than that now. 15 licensed.
Okay.
So, and then a year and a half of that, I was on a mission. So other than that, I've been doing hair that whole time.
Nice.
So it's good. I'm glad I got into it.
And you used to teach down at
Aveda.
Aveda. That's right.
Yeah. I got into the Aveda world maybe like 4 years into my career. And I loved it because they really push you to, I don't know, you have to like learn everything. And I feel like that's when I really became a professional. And man, I miss Aveda, but you kind of have to like phase out of that as well.
Yeah.
But I loved being an educator. They held me up to like this super high standard. I just feel like it totally evolved me as a hairstylist, that I'm confident to say I can do anything now.
Yeah.
And I loved educating, actually. So now I'm at this phase in life where I have to figure out like what the next step is. And education keeps coming up, not necessarily that I want to like start a school, or because like I am dealing with the drama of a school, like it's the worst.
Yeah.
But like maybe some sort of content with education stuff. I forget sometimes how much I know, or that I like take for granted that I know. And I'm like, I could totally do something with this.
Yeah.
So I've loved doing hair, and I'm super proud of myself for what I've done.
Well, the hairdressing world's really funny to me, right? Because girls get their hairdresser and then they will not leave them, even if their hair looks like shit.
Right.
It's wild.
It is wild.
Right. Like, is that, I mean, for, every time a girl says something about wanting a new hairstylist, obviously I throw them your way, right? But it's actually rare because they're so locked into, they've got to have their hair so screwed up that they like move to the next person.
Yes.
Right.
Like their hair either has to turn like green, fall out, or they're moving here from another state.
Yeah.
And that's really the only way that people leave their hairstylist.
Yeah.
Sometimes too, I have to talk with like my older clientele, because they get into like a rhythm of like doing the exact same thing every time. And then they think that's all you know how to do. So like I do a consultation at the beginning of all of my services where I like sit down with them and talk about what they want to do with their hair. And like a lot of my clients are like, just do whatever, or do the usual. And I'm like, you need to know though, if you want to change something, we can do that. So like a lot of times people can get bored with their stylist as well. So I try to make sure that that conversation's open.
That's smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm good.
I know you're good. Well, I know. I mean, that's one of the funny things is if you think about it, I mean, you're good enough to actually teach people how to do it. And then weren't you invited to go on the stage and cut hair for some group around the country or something like that?
I was like on the pathway to doing that when I was with Aveda. But when I was pregnant with Pepper, I got put into this situation because they do commission, right? It's all about like how you're getting paid. So I had to leave Aveda to start my own business. And I couldn't buy into that as like a single business owner. So like, yeah, I kind of had to drop that dream of like becoming a traveling educator. But that was the goal, and I was on my way to doing that. And there is like a part of me that's kind of sad about that. But I was also doing that when I was single, and it's a really rough lifestyle if you are married, have a family, anything like that.
Yeah.
So, but it would have been awesome to do something like that.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah.
It's better to have kids, though.
It is better to have kids, actually. I think that's one of the hardest parts about being a woman is I really do love my career and I love working. And I wasn't necessarily raised to, like, you know, I was raised that, like, once you have kids, that's your priority. That's what you do. Like, if you're a good human, woman, whatever, like, you drop everything for your kids. And, you know, at first, like, I couldn't really do that just because, like, of the situation we were in when we had Pepper, you know, so I had to keep working. But I ended up just being so grateful that I was working, because it's a huge emotional lift, release, like all of this stuff for me. And I feel it was nice to have something that I was really good at.
Yeah.
And also, like, Yuli, my husband, he stays home with our kids when I work. So it's not like not that putting your kid in daycare is bad at all. I'm like, do whatever you want to do, you know, but like, I was lucky that Yuli could be with them and build a relationship with them while I was at work. So there's a lot of sacrifices with it, but I like truly believe that, like, I want to become, not necessarily just like with hair, just in life, I want to teach Pepper that women really can do whatever, and you don't have to sacrifice yourself for everybody else around you, and you can still be a good mom, you know? I have a really great relationship with my kids, and I mean, we'll see, I guess, in 30 years if they hate me or not. The goal is that they don't.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, like, I try really hard to be a good mom, and I am trying really hard to build a career for myself too, and to be able to dream, because I don't think I was taught to dream, honestly. So
yeah,
I want to dream.
Good.
Here's my feminism coming out.
Is this feminism?
I think so. I mean, growing up in the culture that I grew up in, the religion I grew up in, like, your greatest achievement and goal as a woman is to be a mom, and that's it.
Yeah.
Right? And so to want to do anything else out of that, people judge you. People say that you're sacrificing too much or whatever. So, like, you know, the plan for me, I think that's also why I became a hairstylist, because I'm like, I can do this out of my basement, which really you cannot. Like, it's just like any other job. I can't have my kids crawling around while I'm doing hair. Yeah. But yeah, like, I think that's part of the reason why I became a hairstylist, was because I could do it while having kids, because of course I'm going to have kids. Of course I'm going to do all of this stuff because I'm a woman and that's my role. And that's where, you know, ultimate happiness is. And on the same side of that, I love having my kids and my family, and it is the ultimate happiness, but I think you can do both.
Yeah. Well, and I don't think you need to be in a big group and call it feminism to live your own dreams. Like, I think you can get that shackle off of you and just be you.
Right.
Be me.
Well, I know for me personally, there's a lot of things where I'm like, oh, I was taught something that I don't think is good, you know, about being a woman. Like, so I think that's why I am in my 30s, like, overcoming a lot of stuff of like, oh, why do I think that? Or why is that like a hurdle I'm having to overcome, you know? So I do feel like that is categorized under feminism, because I tell Pepper all the time she can go to space. And I'm like, no, but really you can't. She's like 4, right? She's like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
You know, like, let's go together. I'm like, okay, it doesn't work like that. But like, if you want to do whatever, you can do it, and do it, because like, we're alive right now. Like, let's breathe in and live life.
Yeah.
Do you see that with like not how we were raised? Like, I don't really blame it on our parents or anything. I think it's like the culture we were raised in. Do you see that?
For women or for me?
For women.
I have empathy for it, but I think I've never defined this out loud, so I don't really know exactly how to say it. I think it's an understood fact that irregardless of your gender, you can do whatever you want. So if you allow yourself to have limiting beliefs based on your culture, it has nothing to do with feminism or masculinity. It's that you need to look yourself in the mirror and say, I can do whatever I want. I don't need to be part of a group.
I agree with that. But I think, like, when you're taught something your whole life, right? Like, even for men, it's like you're taught that you have to be like the provider, this, that, whatever. Like, there's roles that you're fulfilling, that you're taught that you're supposed to fulfill. And then I think because of, like, you know, the conservative culture we were raised in, as a woman, there was a lot of like limitations. That's all that I mean.
Yeah, but to me, that's like the story of Santa Claus, right? Like you believe Santa Claus till you're 10, 11, 12, 13, whenever you finally figured it out. And once you figured it out, you're like, oh, okay. And we're moving on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just don't go back and harbor any of that stuff, you know? I mean, there's certain things in society that have always existed that have worked really, really well, right? I feel like nowadays in America, because we're all fat and happy here and we have no problems and it's the easiest country to live in, that we just manufacture and make up bullshit every day to be oppressed about, upset about. It just goes on and on and on and on and on.
I'll let you talk because it's your podcast.
No, you say whatever you want, but it's just being in the most free country ever, especially when you travel to other countries, right? And you see like real struggle and real poverty and real places of zero opportunity, right? Like you are never getting out of your caste system in these other countries, right? And they're very prevalent. Mexico is one of them, right? Even Canada to a certain extent, you know? I think it's really easy to sit inside the bubble and act like you're oppressed.
I think it's not one or the other. Because like I lived in the Philippines, right? So I definitely saw, there's so many benefits to being in America. And I remember coming back being like, I paid so much for like a lip gloss and I remember it like shook me. But I had to be like, okay, well, cool. I can go to college anytime. I can do whatever. Like there aren't those limitations on women that there really are in other places. But I think that there is a lot to say about, can America get better? Definitely. Is it the best? I think there's a lot to be learned about even just thinking you're the best.
Yeah, I don't think America can get better. I think we're on the backslide, or we're in the civilization collapsing side.
I would agree.
We can't even figure out what gender we are.
Okay, I can't get into this. This is the other thing about our family is I do have like different opinions on a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, I do have a different opinion on that. I think part of it is like, this is something that's happening. Like people are figuring out their gender, whatever. It's something that's happening. There's nothing that we can control. So like, what do we do with it? You know, instead of like, kind of like putting down people for whatever they want to fight for. You know, it's like, okay, well, like clearly we're not going to go back to like where, you know, men are men, women are women. We're having a lot of different things happening right now, especially like raising children in this. So I think that's like my biggest thing is like, okay, I'm going to be curious about it all and not say what's right or wrong, because no matter what, I am just gaining some huge opinion about what is my child feeling. And I feel like that's one of the biggest drives for me to be like, okay, I could be wrong. I don't know, you know, or I don't understand what somebody else is going through. So as for like figuring out gender, I'm not like, I'm probably way more liberal.
Maybe. You mean leftist though, not liberal.
No, I would say liberal.
Well, not to get the definitions. That's what I'm saying though. Like when you're in a country where you can literally act like you're a cat in junior high and people pander to you, you don't have it that bad. You know what I mean?
I see what you're saying.
There's other countries that they don't know what happens tomorrow. They don't know if they're going to get fed tomorrow. They don't know if their kids can get an education. They don't know if their economy is going to collapse because they're pulling away from the dollar. And like, there's all sorts of crazy shit that's happening. They don't know if they're going to go to war, right? If you're living in Ukraine right now, they ain't figuring out if they're men or women.
Yeah.
Right?
No,
there's actual problems over there. There's not manufactured issues.
Yeah. I mean, what is this under? First world problems?
The ultimate first world problems, yeah.
Yeah. But I also feel like that can cause a lot of suicides. I think that we are having an issue in the States with happiness and, you know.
Absolutely. We're overdrugged.
Yeah. And I don't mean that we all need to be happy. I guess just being satisfied with life, you know. I think that in America, we have the greatest thing that was ever taught to us is you really can be whatever you want. We're progressing. You know, we were like taught we were the best growing up, you know, like.
In the world, you mean?
Yes,
yeah.
In the world.
Yeah.
You know, and it was kind of like all the inventions are here. All of the things are here. We're just like a progressive country. And when I went to the Philippines, their government is not set up like that. So like even the people I would live with, my companions, whatever, I was on a mission there, they just thought inside of the box. They didn't even know how to think outside of the box, right? So like their problems are different than ours for sure. And if you're going to compare them like that, yeah, I mean, I saw it firsthand. It's probably, I don't know, a trauma. I remember like there's so much stuff I saw all the time there that was so freaking heartbreaking. It's different seeing it on TV than like living with it.
Yeah.
You know? So like I understand exactly what you're saying, but also like people here, there's so much pressure to progress and to be the best, be better than yesterday. And some people can look at that in a positive light, and that can be really crushing for other people.
Yeah, no, I can see that. I mean, I look at, the problem is I think in America, people do not take personal responsibility for a lot of things. They blame everybody else.
Yeah.
Right. Number one, they blame the government. Right. Then they call it institutional whatever. Right. Well, the government oppresses me. The government oppresses me. The government oppresses me. Right. Now, does the government oppress sometimes? Sure. Right. But really, at the end of the day, it is like, what is being oppressed? Like, what does that mean to you? Like, why are you not just choosing to live your life the way that you want to live it? Right. So going back to gender, you know, I kind of brought up a hot topic that's out there right now. You know, like if you want to be, I mean, who the hell, it's undefined, right? So really what they're saying is my personality is different. They're not actually even talking about gender. But because they get into a mob or a group mentality, they put that banner over there where, you know, it's, you know, again, if you want to say bi-curious, that's not the word. What's the non-binary, right? We're non-binary, we're cis, we're this, you know, all this kind of stuff. The gender I was assigned at birth and like all this garbage. And it's like, no one cares. I wish your parents would have loved you more. I don't know why you're so upset about this. It doesn't matter. Who are you? What do you think about? Because if you come out as an individual and actually or have the courage and the leadership to actually just be you and not be part of a mob or a group or a political party or anything, if we went back to being individuals, these problems wouldn't even exist. You say, well, this is the way that I feel sometimes. And it's like, oh, okay. And then people around you just accept you because America is one of the most accepting countries in the world. But if you get on Twitter and start blasting people for not using your pronouns or all the stuff that's literally changing every day, it's just, for someone in my perspective, I just look at people and I just think, this is something that I can't even engage with because it's kind of like buffoonery at the greatest, you know?
What would you do if one of your kids came to you and said that they were feeling this way?
What age?
Any age.
Like a 4-year-old?
No.
Well,
we'll just say an adult.
They get to choose whatever they want.
And if one of them said they wanted to go by a different sex, would you respect that?
Sure.
They wanted to change their name.
Yeah, they can change their name. Yeah.
I mean, that's all that they're fighting for, you know? I feel like how you are describing it is really all that people want, right?
Oh, I know exactly what they want.
They just want to be loved for who they are.
Well, they say that.
This is your podcast.
Well, you can say whatever you want. I mean, you can disagree with me. I mean, that's fine. There's plenty of people that disagree. And I think that's actually part of a healthy society is people disagree but still get along.
Yes, I agree.
But what I'm saying is some chick in Salt Lake City right now who wants to be a man, not a woman, I don't give a shit. Knock yourself out. It doesn't make any difference to me. Why do I have to hear about it? Do it.
I've never struggled with that, right? And I actually don't know anybody personally who is. I know my friend's husband has gone through this or whatever, but I don't know them. So I literally don't know anybody in my personal circle. So I would like to stay curious about all of this because I don't know anybody and I've never just sat down one-on-one with somebody because I think when you sit down with anybody in any situation in the States that we're going through, right? These quote unquote first world problems that people, they really are things that need to be resolved for people. I'm willing to listen to them and to hear them out. And if they feel like they need to fight for something, okay. Because I think just as much as somebody wants to change their gender and that doesn't affect me, if they want to have an opinion that they're shouting out there, that doesn't really affect me either. And I can say, sure, if you need to do that, like, do it. But even more so, I want to understand it literally for my kids.
No, I get that. But when those groups get together, they want to go out there and get people on their side, right? Like if they come to me and say, well, do you believe me? I'm like, I don't give a shit. Oh, you're a conservative bigot. Okay. Then I go back to living my wonderful life and they go back to shouting at people on the street.
The truth is, though, is you do give a shit.
I don't.
You do. Because there's people who are fighting against it. There's people, just the same as there's a group here that's fighting for something, there's always going to be a group over here that's fighting against it, right? So I think the problem is looking at everybody that they're going to fit under one of those groups, right? You're more here. Sure.
No, I disagree. I think 80 to 85% of our country is right in the middle, politically, socially, liberally.
That's what I'm saying.
They really don't care.
That's what I'm saying too, is like there's this huge percentage of more people that are in the middle where it's like, sure, okay, I don't care because it's not affecting my personal life, whatever, but you can do whatever you want. But I think what is thrown at everybody's faces is like, in the media or whatever, people think that it is this one or the other, and it's really not. So like there's this group that's super loud over here. Well, there's a bunch of people who are going through that same thing. They're not actually falling under that super loud group. They don't really care to go out there and make everybody change for them. But there is that small percentage that's super loud, right? So then on the other side, there's that small percentage that's super loud too, even though other people might feel things more on the other side. Does that make sense? So it's like the people that we're hearing don't represent everybody, because I actually do have a non-binary friend I just thought of, and she's not out there like, she goes by she too. She's not out there like needing to fight for something or needing to be understood by the entire world, but like she doesn't fall into this category where she's needing to like make a huge deal about it. I don't know. Even then, okay, that's kind of like where I'm at. But I think it's because I do try to fall in the middle of things, because I don't think you should look at things as black and white. But I think even looking at these different situations that are coming up, they're not black and white, and not everybody in that situation is in your face about it.
You're right that not everyone's in your face, right? But the movement is. The movement's absolutely in your face.
But what did you say like Christianity is too?
Sure.
And like the people.
I know, but that's the point though. You have to be smart enough as an individual to rise above this stuff and not care. Like, do you think I give a shit what Muslims say? No. Or Christians or the LGBTQIA movement? I don't. Right? I also don't need to be an ally to anybody. Right? That's the big movement, LGBTQ, right? Is that are you an ally or you're not? And it's like either with us or you're not. And that is a absolute thing coming out of that group. And it's like, I don't need to be either one. You're fine. Move in next to me. I don't care. You know? But then you have the media that hypes the shit up, right? So in the New York Pride Festival, you had a huge group of people shouting, we're here, we're queer, we're coming for your children. And it got blasted all over the place. It's like, you are inciting the other side now. You are forcing it down their throats, you know? And it's like, but this has happened since the eons and eons of time, right? It's there's different groups in different societies, the Roman Empire, you know, all this stuff, right? This stuff will happen. And that's when we're going back to kind of America, right? Kind of original point. We're on the backslide. It's too overregulated here. It's too wild. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, there's no order anymore. There's no chaos. We're voting for two 80-year-olds to be president. It's absolutely crazy what's going on. And just for me, and I don't speak for a group. I literally speak for me. I do not care. I don't care if someone has a sex transition. You know what I mean? It's not my problem. You know, if they do it when they're in their as a child and the parents force that crap or whatever, right? Or they think their kid's that way and, you know, whatever, right? That there'll be consequences later. Maybe they're good consequences and maybe they're bad. But I don't have to be an ally and I don't have to have an opinion about it either. So what I'm telling you, I really don't care. But it's just one of those things, right? But when you get in these conversations of like, you know, are we going to get better as a country? Are we going to do this kind of stuff? And that's my answer. No, we're not, because we're not focused. It's like having a company, right? That if you're unfocused and you're trying to add products and you know this, you're trying to like do all these little stupid things instead of staying laser focused on the three main things that you sell and growing your business and then selling your business, having a clear path. You know, it's the same thing in your life. Like, what is the clear path to your life? You know, you ask me about my kids, I don't have to worry about it. I just don't, you know?
Well, I think if initially I was just thinking that you were more conservative, because I think when you say I don't care, it means like I don't want to. It comes off as like.
Yeah, but what does conservative to you mean?
I think just conservative values, you know, like.
Yeah, but like what are those?
I think when I think of it, it's like. Yeah, more like traditional roles. Like, would you be okay with your kids being gay or trans or whatever? Because like, and I think you would, right? Like, that's what you were saying. But I think when you were saying, I don't care, I get what you're saying. Like, yeah. It's not something that you need. You have other things in your life that you're working on, dealing with personal things, right?
Yeah.
But I think what people just want to hear it said differently. And I'm not correcting you or anything. I'm just saying I don't care means like, kind of like, it can come across as like F you, right? But I don't think that's what you're meaning. You're not saying F you.
Sometimes, but not all the time, yeah. No, I'm not. No, but see, I feel like terms like conservative and Democrat and liberalism and leftist, right? Like they're terms that we've heard, but they're actually undefined. So for me, I'm very fiscally conservative. The conservative party to me is one that is fiscally conservative, right? And religious, historically, right? More religious people, or I shouldn't say religious. Christians vote more conservative-wise, but it's because when these two parties come together and lie through their teeth to us and tell us all the stuff they're going to do and all of the bullshit, and the whole country lines up, but maybe 10% that's right in the middle that chooses actually who our president is. We say, well, you're conservative. And they use that as kind of like a derogatory term. It's like, no, I think people should make their own money and pay for their own life. That's about everything in me that's conservative. Outside of that, I'm wildly liberal, where I'm like, I don't want government. Don't tell me what to do. I could own a gun and smoke weed if I want. You know?
That's all conservative, though. I feel like Joe Rogan is the one who brought weed into it, though.
You think Joe Rogan's conservative?
No, I just mean like all these conservatives who like Joe Rogan, and he's like talking about how he gets high, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, cool, we can do all that. But that's just my opinion.
No, liberalism is like you want very limited government, right? Like to me, the federal government should have two functions: protect the economy and protect the border. That's it. You know, I mean, I guess roadways and stuff like that, right? But they should not touch a social issue if their life depended on it. And they don't care. The federal government does not give a shit if gays can get married or not. If they did, they'd pass a law. They don't. They let it go through the Supreme Court. They let it go to a totally separate branch of the government, right? Every single social issue that becomes a federal thing, not every single one, the vast majority of them go through the Supreme Court. The reason for that is our federal government doesn't care. All they do is tax and grow, tax and grow, tax and grow. So for them to justify themselves, they have to implement new laws, the EPA, just like different things over and over again. And as society as a whole, we get excited as hell. Oh, the one issue that I care about, you know, they're going to go in there and fix it all, right? They're going to put a law in and the world will be right. That's not what happens, right? They create a law. And then that limits other people, so then they start fighting about it. Then you get these two people and they label them. Then you get the media stir everybody up. You know, that is literally how America works.
Yeah.
You know, social issues should be dealt with on a local level. Anyone with a brain knows that. Your local, like city council almost, maybe your state.
Yeah, no, I agree with you actually.
Yeah, but I shouldn't have to get a marriage license to marry somebody, right? I shouldn't have to have a damn business license to run a business. Why does the government have to issue me a license to run a business?
Yeah.
See, that's liberalism. That is like, the government shouldn't touch me. I'll knock on your door when I need you. Leave me the hell alone. Okay, leftism is where you're like, no, we got to get these rights and this, healthcare is a human right and this is a human right, all that stuff. That's kind of from the left that pushes that stuff up to the Supreme Court. And you're right, there's a conservative side that's fighting against that, mostly because of the religious right that thinks that, whatever is against God's will or whatever. And that's where I come in and I say, I don't care. These people can fight each other for the next 200 years. It doesn't matter to me because I don't actually care about either side. Right? I don't think religion should be involved in the state, right? I don't think that social issues should go to the federal government either. So that's really where my political leanings lie. And when people are polled throughout the country, they generally fall in that exact same thing, right? Everyone in our country thinks, yeah, you should pay for yourself at some level. Now, we should have social nets for people that hit hard times, which America obviously has some of the greatest ones in the world, right? But that's kind of like the way I lean politically. But the way society currently is I'm a wealthier, rich, white guy. And so I'm vilified just for looking the way that I look, which is hilarious based on our historical treating blacks poorly the way they look and treating Asians poorly because of the way they look and treating Jews because of the way they look. It's just kind of our turn, I guess. White males get shit on, for the next, I don't know, 20 years, and then be on to the next minority class that we want to go banging against. Who knows?
I think it's hard. I hope that so I've been in lots of therapy, right? Yeah. And one of the biggest things is learning boundaries and standing up for yourself and saying how you feel, right? And not just letting it be like, oh, it is whatever, right? So I think as a country, there have been problems in the past, right? On this side, we'll say.
There's problems right now, yeah.
Yes, there's problems right now. But I think it has swung to the other side of the pendulum because a lot of, I don't know how to explain this, but I want to hear people out, right? Like I said, I want to be curious about these issues that people are bringing up. Is it something that we need to take care of? Whatever. I don't know, right? But I think that it has swung on this side of the pendulum where it's just like, hear me, hear me, hear me, hear me. This is the problem. Validate me, whatever. Mm-hmm. When really, I think it needs to be in the middle. And that's what a true boundary is of hey, this is how I am. I can't make you do anything, but this is how I feel. Mm-hmm. And you can't argue with that, right? So any issue that somebody's going through, you can't, they're not forcing anybody to do or agree or whatever, but they know their experience, right? And so I just wonder, how do we move forward as a country where it could be oh yeah, that was messed up, because people are bringing up social issues because the government isn't perfect, right? So there are things that are happening to people that are unfair because it isn't a perfect system. So I do think it's important to look and hear what people have to say, because if we didn't have government, and I get what you're saying, right? There's kind of two different governments, right? There's your neighbors, and then there's the country, and a lot of people do get those confused. Mm-hmm. But I think people do need to realize, as a community, how can we make people feel welcomed, loved, safe, whatever. And I mean, that's a euphoric system. It's never going to get there. But what's the steps to get there? What's a mature way of handling all of these things?
Personal responsibility.
I agree with personal responsibility, but I also think it takes something from the other side. I don't think it's personal responsibility and you and then somebody else take care of my problems for me. That's what I'm saying. It's what's the middle? Well, how do you hold both?
This. No, you can't put your problems on somebody else. They'll never solve them.
Right.
They don't care. So if you
Right.
put your problems on the federal government, they don't care. They're an entity just like another human.
Yes, but is the system set up that people can fix all of their problems on their own?
Well, what problems are we talking about?
I don't know, just in general. I'm
I would
just
think
saying,
so. I think when I have a problem, I deal with it and I take care of it.
yes.
Very rarely do I need intervention from the government.
Yeah.
So, like, there's not laws out there. I don't have a nature about me that would go and do something against the law, and the law stops me from doing it. Even all the way down to driving. I drive whatever speed I feel like. You know what I mean?
They technically stop you from doing that, though.
What do you mean?
You can get a ticket. There's consequences.
Well, there's consequences to everything. Yeah, I totally agree with that. But when you go to the government to alleviate your consequences and solve your problems, right? It's never actually done. Like when you really look at the institution of the government, right? They're just writing laws. Our government's law system comes from England's or the United Kingdom's, right? It's 1,000 years old.
Yeah.
You just keep on adding and adding and adding and adding. And then when other social issues pop in, right, they try and add these laws, but it's antiquated and it takes forever. And society gets unrest and, or you just deal with it.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at. I mean, if you talk about the gender thing, right, it is a non-issue. If you feel that you are a gender, okay. If you tell me you're red, okay. Like, okay, great, good, you're red. Whatever. Like, it doesn't mean anything to other people, right? If it means something to you, then let it mean something to you. You know what I'm saying? I think that's what our society really just like bubbles up into. And we're trying to like make everyone feel comfortable and like you use the word safe. Well, the world's not safe. You can create safety in your own world, right? But if you leave that responsibility to the government or society, you'll never feel safe. You have to create that stuff in your own world.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You know what I mean?
And I would like it if somebody was here who was like going through that to explain if that's what they would want, right? Like, is that what they're really fighting for? Is just to feel safe in their own. Sure, you can feel safe as yourself, right? But like, what's their community like? What's whatever. Sometimes I think it's just about educating people on this. We're
$1.8 trillion in debt in education, though.
I don't mean like in schools. I think talking about, as a country, have we had issues with how people are treated?
Yeah, but every country has.
Yeah, so yes. So how do we change it? Do
we need to change it?
Well, yeah, we had to change slavery.
There's still slaves in this world.
You know what I'm talking about, though, right?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, though. Do we actually have to change it?
No, just this is my example. Like with slavery, clearly, like there was actually oppressed people. They were owned by other people. The government had to get involved with that. People had to start talking about how that's a problem and getting, like, educating on, hey, this is not okay that we're treating these people this way. There had to be a change there, right? So I think saying that, like, people just need to, like, stay in their lane kind of a thing.
I'm not saying they need to stay in their lane.
Okay.
Like in our society right now, what would be the first thing you would change? You live in this society, you look at it, what was the first thing you would change if you were king or queen?
Everybody needs therapy. Oh, that would be my first thing.
I wouldn't actually disagree with that. I think people need to learn how to regulate themselves and be responsible for their own selves. Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Yes.
But like a societal issue, though, you look out there, okay, this is an issue that we have in our society right now. It's overwhelming. It's crushing.
It's kind of hard to say because I do think it does come down to like personal things for people. I think that there's a lot of emotional suffering, and I think that that's why I would say therapy, and I also like it because it will evolve. We're like constantly learning about how we are as humans and what you know, how to actually overcome things and become better.
Yeah. Well, I think if everyone went to therapy and they learned early on as a kid, even if it was in our education system, that they are most important, right? They are in control of their lives. They can go to outer space. They can do whatever they want, and they don't need to be part of a group.
Yeah.
That when they look in the mirror, that they love themselves. You know, that when they create relationships with other people, they foster those and put value into those, and they become good contributing members of society. Yeah, that would solve many, many problems here.
Yes.
But you can't have the government force that down anybody's throat.
No.
You have to choose to do that.
I know. So like as a society, and I don't know this answer, right? How do we change as a society to get on that path? Because
each individual person has to choose to.
Yes.
There's actually big movements. I'm in a men's group that's all about that.
Yeah.
You know, our men's group is all about being in integrity. So choosing the life of integrity and we define that ourselves, what that integrity is, right? There's not a law or a banner that says this is what integrity means. We choose our own integrity. We stay inside of that. We talk about how we're worth, our self-worth, right? We talk about being good husbands and fathers and friends, right? Because some of us aren't married, right? And those relationships that are important. And it's always put back on us. We are responsible for this. You're responsible for getting up in the morning. Have a morning routine, go to the gym, work hard, do good business deals with people, be honest. Like all that stuff is fostered inside this group. And every one of these men chose to get in this group. We pay to be in this group. And we're about a year and a couple of months in. And it's something that will actually benefit society. But you want to know what would screw it up? The government.
Well, how can they screw that?
Well, if they got involved. Anytime the government gets involved with something, they screw it up.
Also, anytime religion gets involved with something, they screw it up.
No real argument there, but it's just an authority. It's just an authority over people. People need to govern themselves, right? Yeah, if you got a serial killer out there that's killing people in your community and the community can't figure out what's going on, yes, you need the police to come in and take care of that, right? That's what they're for, right? And that's how a functioning, civilized society works, right? More of a utopia side. But if you start making laws where everyone has to have 2 hours of a continuing education every year, you know what I mean, to be a better person, like, you know what I'm saying? It'll just screw it up, right? Then they start giving government grants out for the people that can't afford it and blah, blah, there's this program, you know what I'm saying? It just gets messy and blown up. It's like our healthcare system, you know? Anytime they subsidize something, they jack it up because then they got to put a whole bunch of layers of administration into it. Mm-hmm. It just doesn't work. Yeah. And so, I mean, we got to pound on religion for about 30 minutes here, or not religion, the government for 30 minutes here. But I think, my best advice, and then I'll ask your best advice, because we're at the end of this, but I think my best advice for people is, listen, take care of the people that are under your stewardship, right? If that's friends, if that's family, that's what you're responsible for. If someone in your world is struggling with gender identity, then reach out to them and talk to them and make them feel comfortable and help them and be a friend to them if they're already a friend of yours, right? And then take personal responsibility for stuff and look yourself in the mirror every morning and love yourself. A lot of the suicide and mental health problems that we is just absolutely exploding inside of our country, which I think is, a reaction to all sorts of different things. We're overdrugged. There's all sorts of things going on in our country, right? You got to take that personal responsibility and say, hey, today I'm going to take care of today. If my goal is to be a doctor or a whatever, then I'm going to start going to college. I'm going to start doing the things that lead me down that path, right? That would be my best advice. What's your best advice?
Oh, honestly, similar. Like, I think self-love is super important. Worthiness is super important for yourself, right? Not for anybody else. Like, you find your own worth. But I think the steps to getting there are like difficult, but I would say like put in the work to do it. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's like the biggest thing in my life really is I've been trying to take care of my own problems so they're nobody else's problems and be a good wife, be a good mother, be a good sister.
Yeah.
I dropped the ball.
Be a good daughter.
Oh, yeah. Be a good daughter.
Yeah, I need to be a good son too.
I drop the ball a ton in those areas while I'm learning, But yeah, I would say that for myself personally, that is what I'm trying to do, is just heal my wounds, overcome them, and thrive.
Yeah.
You know? And I do hope that for everybody. I do hope that as a society we can all understand that you can overcome things no matter what it is.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you very much, my little sister.
Yeah, I didn't realize we were going to go into politics.
Well, who knows? That's why we just free flow this thing.
It's fun.
We can do another one.
I love having conversations with you, and I always value your opinion. Even if in certain things it is different, it always brings a different perspective.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
Well, thank you for saying that. And it's funny, I realize I'm a hard person to talk to sometimes because I'm very stern sometimes in what I say. And I think people think there's not leeway for me to change my mind, but there's actually is. You just got to give me some evidence. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, thank you for coming on. I love you.
I love you too, Mark. Thanks for inviting me.
You're welcome.
Thanks for listening to the President McCormack Podcast, brought to you by McCormack Foundation, Saxton Fund, ADP Lemco, and Professional Floor Systems. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and keep up with Mark on Instagram @President McCormack.